When you think about the 3 to 5 years, you have to also think about the new technologies, the plethora of technologies. Then we have the shortage in talent, and then we have the great resignation. So that adds all this complexity to this problem. I'm not sure this is new, but what we found is just those aids, the educational material, short little videos, FAQs, the how-to guides, programs that create excitement to learn and adopt are really helpful. Because after all, doesn't everyone want to be a cybersecurity expert? However, if that doesn't work and that carrot approach doesn't work, that's when we resort to the stick. And so what we've done is we've automated a number of compliance dashboards, monitoring, alerting. I think Aaron mentioned the KRIs, KPIs, and we don't only put it in the office of the CISO in our global cybersecurity practice, but we share that on a regular basis, a near real-time basis with the development teams as well.
But I find even as I moved around the past few years too, a lot of organizations are striving to be agile and sometimes struggle in areas at that. So when I come in, it comes back to sometimes a hybrid balance model. And the reason is of course, as we talked about earlier, like the security at the forefront. So we have these important gates embedded within. Perhaps we are delivering agile at the development level, but we want to make sure things like architecture, our reviews and security are going through these gates. But then for me, it comes down to a real fundamental thing that no matter what we do, it comes down to planning for me. So, my teams hear me a lot say, I talk about the 5 Ps, proper planning prevents poor performance. It's been around for a long time. But I truly do believe in that no matter what methodology or environment we're in. So making sure we have proper inception, obviously multi-year roadmaps, next year plans, and really kind of building up so we have a really good plan so that I don't overcommit, under-deliver.
2 key components, the SIEM and the APM. Nowadays, APMs, they are very restrictive on what security capabilities they can do, with the exception of application awareness. What I mean by that is, let's say Log4j, as was mentioned by others, if you did have Log4j released within an application and the binaries that were dependent on it, it would tell you where it's running and if it's vulnerable or not. So it would actually tell you, oh, you deployed into AWS, you deployed into VMware, you deployed into Google. 2 of them are exploited through external customers. 1 of them is a dev environment and you don't need to do anything about it. That's where AI and ML will help you, where it assesses the context of VPNs, assesses the context of exposed services, because what it does is it makes what we would call a connection path. It determines if an application is basically touched by something untrusted versus an internal application. So I think that context awareness that AI and ML can map for you from an APM perspective, there are not many in the market that can do so. Actually, I'm only aware of 1. Is really, really important. The reason being is it helps not only from the perspective of creating dashboards of performance, dashboards with regards to synthetic monitoring, and then using AI and ML to determine what is your actual risk rating. Does that vulnerability even matter to me today or not? And if it doesn't, I'll get to it later and do a new release. So I put a comment in, you need to distinguish between things that need patching immediately because it's really dangerous, or just release when it's convenient. I also think from a QA perspective, one of our worst areas in all of software development is skipping QA or skipping performance testing. I'll put my hand up that I've seen every single organization I ever met skips performance testing when they don't have cycles. AI and ML can actually automate that using an APM. You just tell it, I'm running a performance test, tell me if it's healthy, versus 1,000 hours with a QA team. So I think we're not leveraging the AI and ML for telemetry and log anomalies to help us understand, is the application healthy? Does it produce any exploits I need to deal with? But beyond that, I don't believe AI and ML do very much. But within the context of vast telemetry and logs, it does a great job of telling you where you need to focus and what's working.
In many cases, to apply the concept of a self-healing code, similar way that we do for the rest of the code, and checking the bugs and everything else to apply to self-healing from the vulnerability perspective as well. But certainly it has its own challenges, and it's a different beast.